Your unique story, our global audience. Global One Media.
Welcome to Global One Media's exclusive one-on-one discussions with company executives as they share insights into their unique journey and why you should pay attention. I'm your host, Ashleigh Barry, and we appreciate your interest. Today, we have two very special guests from Prismo Metals, Craig Gibson, President and CEO, and Allan Frame, Director of Business Development. Prismo Metals is a growth stage exploration company focused on the acquisition of mineral property assets in Mexico. They're listed on the Canadian Securities Exchange as PRIZ and on the OTCQB as PMOMF. Welcome, both of you, and thank you so much for joining us at Global One Media.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ashleigh.
Well, Craig, I'd like to start with you. Exploration is a fascinating business, as we discussed, and as you really can never be sure what discoveries you'll make. Can you please share insights into Prismo Metals' unique capabilities and why you are positioned to achieve better outcomes than the others in this space?
Yes, well, while Prismo Metals is a relatively recent company, the principles behind the company and our technical team are comprised of a number of individuals, three individuals who have extensive experience in Mexico. Dr. Peter McGaw and myself. Dr. Peter McGaw is our technical advisor and founder, and myself also a founder of the company. Both have service companies in Mexico, and along with Rafael Gallardo, who works with Dr. McGaw, we have over 100 years experience working in Mexico in all facets of exploration. So we have extensive experience. We have projects that we had in our respective companies prior to forming Prismo Metals. So all these factors help make Prismo Metals more advanced than some of our competitors in the country.
I would say over 100 years of combined experience is nothing to that a stick at, right?
That's for sure.
I'd agree there.
100 years is incredible.
So, Allan, you currently have no long-term loans based on your most recent financial statements, which show good financial management and health. Could you elaborate on how you manage your capital structure efficiently and effectively?
Sure, you bet. Thanks for the question, Ashleigh. Firstly, there are only 33 million shares out on a fully diluted basis. It's a relatively new company and it has a fairly low market cap. We're looking at maybe about 16 million market cap. And about 40% of the company is owned by the insiders, which is always a really good thing to see. And about 40% is owned by sophisticated investors, individuals that are more in the builders category than just the flipping trading category. And another important aspect of keeping control of our capital basis is the fact that there are no salaries. The Craig and Doctors McGaw and others receive nothing. They're just, they're here to drill and explore, which is what they like to do. So, and our last financing, for example, was done by the founders and insiders by virtue of exercising warrants that they held. So the stock was crossed in the market and the profit they put back into the treasury as well. So it's a self-financing entity, which was effectively non-dilutive because those warrants already existed. So it's having a small capital structure. The low market cap we hope will build over time through exploration, but it's that's the way we manage our capital to date.
Absolutely explains the healthy financial statement that you just released. Craig, I'd like to learn a little bit more about your current exploration projects in Mexico. Of course, they stand to have promising results in the exploration process, and maybe you can expand on why this is, and really what's most important is why should the audience get excited about this and what investors should keep an eye on?
Well, as you know, we have two exploration projects, and as I mentioned previously, each of those were brought in by founders of the company, Dr. McGaw and myself. Mm-hmm. So they were vetted by each of us before. We believed in them as a private company before forming Prismo Metals. So we know they're interesting projects. Each of them are in very important mining jurisdictions in Mexico, and also they're in up in up and coming exploration regions. Our most advanced project is a relatively small one, Palos Verdes, but that project is surrounded by Vizsla Silver, who's had over the last couple of years very good exploration results, announcing a large silver resource earlier this year. So the work they've done there and the success they have points well to our project, which has very similar geology. We're doing a drill program right now, just finishing up a 2,000 meter drill program. So we'll have news coming out on that shortly, assay results, hopefully right at the end of the month, and more following before the end of the year. So that project is, it's got a lot of eyes looking at it based on Vizsla's results. We have similar geology, and I think we have a potential pretty good winner there. And our second project is completely different. It's also in an up and coming mining region up in Sonora State, but it's a much larger and earlier stage project. It's district scale. It covers about 5,300 hectares near Alamos in southern Sonora. But this project, we think, is expanding the Northwest Sonora Gold Belt, which is known for very large gold deposits, into southern Sonora. So we think we have a potential multi-million ounce gold discovery. Again, very early stage. We're doing basic mapping and sampling this year to bring it up to a drill-ready study in the first quarter of next year.
Very, very exciting, and we'll all be very curious to hear the results of those assays. That's fantastic, Craig. So, Allan, I understand it's still early to discuss this as you are in the exploration process, but since your projects are promising, what markets are you considering catering to in the future? And have there been discussions with potential customers or even takeoff agreements?
Thank you. Well, it is a bit early to discuss that, since we're early in early stage exploration. However, the first thing that we would like to do, obviously, is establish a resource, and our drilling presently is underway at Palos Verdes. So the Palos Verdes situation in terms of offtakes and that sort of thing, we're surrounded by Vizsla. They have much more property than we do, although our property is large enough to host a standalone resource if we're successful in our exploration. Pretty unlikely that you'd see two mills in an area like that, though. So I think if we're successful in our exploration and create a good resource, we probably would speak with them and see if we could work some deal out for custom milling or something like that. And then on the second property, on the Las Pavitos, that is quite large in terms of land. So if we have success in the exploration there, that would likely be a standalone process, which would involve a lot more detail and a lot more development than the Palos Verdes would. However, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to it.
Well, we appreciate you sharing as much information as you can, just to peek in the window of what's happening. I think is really exciting for the audience. Craig, we've talked about the processes in Mexico and those projects. Maybe you could help us understand the regulatory and business environment there, and also, have there been any hurdles, and how does your company in particular navigate such obstacles, if there are any?
Well, Mexico is really a pretty favorable mining jurisdiction. There is a little bit of negative news out over the last year or two with the current administration, but it's really overall it's a favorable and safe mining jurisdiction, and both of our projects are also in up and coming mining areas. So there's a lot of activity there. No future problems we think we'll have with any of the permitting or anything like that. And I said previously, Dr. McGaw and myself both have been involved in the business in Mexico for a number of years. We have extensive experience in all facets of exploration, from claim staking all the way through all the permitting processes. So that aids greatly. Right now, the main hurdle we've had at Palos Verdes is getting an environmental permit. After COVID and everything that happened, the government agencies are just recently getting back into shape, and there's delays in permits. So we're drilling Palos Verdes, but we can't drill everything we want to right now. We have a permit application pending. We think that'll be hopefully will be finished before the end of the year, and it'll allow us to drill about 60% of the strike length of the vein at Palos Verdes that we can't access through drilling right now.
Okay, good to know. We talked about the silver, we talked about the potential for gold. Allan, I'd like to hear from you what your projected next milestones are for Prismo Metals, and maybe if you could highlight the growth path for this company.
Sure, you bet. On a relatively short-term basis, that's easy to do. Firstly, we hope to conclude our drill program on Palos Verdes very soon. We're drilling the 7th hole, likely the last one. So the next thing we look forward to after that would be the assay results from that drill program. So once those assays are in, the next event we'd look forward to would be receiving the permits, as Craig was just explaining, so that we can get on to the other half of the Palos Verdes that we have been unable to access roadwise. So that program's only in its embryonic stage yet, as much fun and as good as it's been. And then with Los Pavitos, we expect to have permits there. So another milestone will be beginning the drill program there, which should be in 2023. And then, of course, assays from there. And then, on both programs, we'll evaluate them and see where to go and what to do with them from that point on. So those are the short-term milestones, which should all occur over the next, say, 4 to 6 months.
Fantastic. Certainly something for investors and our audience, obviously, to look forward to. Some great things on the horizon for both of you. Craig Gibson, Allan Frame of Prismo Metals. What a pleasure it was speaking with both of you today. We thank you for sharing these impressive updates, projections, and insights, and we certainly look forward to sharing more with our audience when warranted.
Thank you very much.